welcome to another episode of Sports Sipping Sports. I'm your host, Kenny Baker. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by Rashad Baker. Give it up for Rashad Baker.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Let's get to it.
Okay, yes, we're going to talk about the NFL Week 12 games, also how the playoff picture is shaping out. I'm going to start off with the Thursday night game, the Steelers against the Browns. That game was in extreme weather conditions, but the Browns prevailed at home 24 to 19. I thought anytime you play a division game, anything can happen. And to me, it did. I don't necessarily think the Browns are a better team than the Steelers. In fact, the Browns have now beat both Ravens and Steelers. But both of those games were at home, but just to say.
Yeah, it seems to me as if, the numbers would help support the claim, but from eye candy, it seems like the Browns have the Ravens number for some. Like I don't understand it. The Ravens could have a fantastic season, but when they play Cleveland, it's like you said, those division games. But yeah, it was a snowy game, man. I didn't know it was gonna snow, so it was kind of like shocking to see,
Mhm.
in my opinion, for me. But what a time to play football. I feel like as an adult, you kind of have like that child approach to the game when you see the weather, and it's like those are like the scenarios you think about, you dream about when you're young. Just these wild and fourth and five in the snow, 2 minutes left. So I can imagine it was pretty cool for that, man. I just I don't know what it is, man, but that guy Pickens, man, he always finds somebody to just want to wrestle with. Like he's a different breed, man. He's a Georgia guy. I don't know what it is, but I got him on my fantasy team and he kind of, let me down this week. But like you said, the Browns pulled it off. I agree. I don't think they're better than the Steelers, but it was just one of those games.
Yeah, division games. That's all I chalk it up to. Division games. I've seen it year
Mhm.
in, year out. Team comes in, whatever, on a high, or a team that you expect to win. Everybody does. In fact, they were the favorites, the Steelers, and then lo and behold, whoop whoop. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Lions at Colts. I think the Lions are in the driver's seat in the NFC, heading towards the one seed. That's the way I see it. And I think the Colts are just going to have to take the L at home.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's much to add on to that specific game. I think it's just more so giving the Lions their flowers, at being at 9-1. Um, I don't know the last time they even got to that point of being 9-1. Maybe you do, but I'm unsure. So they're doing great things over there in Detroit.
I'll be honest with you. I don't recall them being 9-1. I would have to go in the archives, and dig up their season by season record, and to see at what any point if they were 9-1. I don't recall it. I recall obviously Barry Sanders, Megatron, those guys playing, but as
Hmm.
far as the record, I don't believe they were ever 9-1. But I could be
Yeah,
wrong. I'm not in the archives right now.
yeah, it's great things going on in Detroit. They're not, they're not doing record wise. They're not doing as well as the Lions, but even the Pistons, you know, um, I have grown to be very fond of Kate Cunningham. Like he's actually one of my favorite players in the league. I just love the way he plays the game of basketball. So the city's just turning around right now. So shout out to Detroit.
Well, speaking of the Pistons, I think that it's about time, and I don't mean it the way it sounds. Let me elaborate. When you get the top or one of the top picks year after year, so if you're telling me you get the one pick this year, the year before you say get the second or third overall pick, you follow. So when you start to get these picks, excuse me, it's supposed to come to fruition it should at least come to fruition at some point, because how do you get one of the best college players, or at least you believe to be one of the best college players, in 3 consecutive years, and you're telling me you're still a bottom feeder?
Yeah, You know what? I think it does start with Cade because it seems like you're building your franchise around him. He was hurt. People
Hmm.
forgot quickly that he was the number one draft pick a few years ago, and I think now he's finally blossoming into what they invested into. He's a walking triple double, and he's like a 6'7" point guard. Like I just love his game. So one of my favorite players right now.
Yeah, good for the young fella. All right, so we're gonna go with the Chiefs versus the Kansas City. They took the L. I had them last week to win. I know that they lost, and I'm not going to shy from that. But I think Kansas City is playing on a different level because they get it done every which way but loose. Now they don't have Pacheco back this game, but Pacheco will be back. And when you start to say, well, hell, they're 9-1 without him, Rice, and you know what I mean. And then now you're telling me you're going to get back one of those pieces. They're just going to be tough. And the Panthers, yes, they played well and they got two game back-to-back games wins. Uh, Good for them. Good for Bryce Young especially. But I don't believe they'll make it three.
Yeah, I agree. Kansas City's doing Kansas City does. I agree with everything you said. And it gets a little more difficult once you add one of those star players of their roster back on the field. So I knew he was questionable, or he was in the talks of maybe making that return this week. But as you declared, he's not. So the more they sit, I believe that also lowers the risk of injury, like they did with Nico Collins. He could have went the week prior from last, but he ended up having his return last week. So
Yeah, we're down to the meat. I call it the meat and potatoes of the season, where it's about playoff. It's who you got healthy or who you're getting back right about now. So you have to be very diligent in your decisions. We have the Vikings against the Bears. I have to go with the Vikings there. I think there's no Keenan Allen, no Swift for the Bears. The Vikings obviously have to keep pace in the NFC. That the NFC right now is it's tight. I mean, it's tight as far as you got a shot for the one, and you just can't take for granted you're gonna make the playoffs at this point because there's a couple of teams, a win here, a win there, and you take a loss. Next thing you know, you guys are tied.
yeah, they need to turn it around. I actually came across a stat that's not your typical stat, but Sam Darnold, he's had multiple turnovers in 4 games this season, and in those 4 games, he's they're undefeated. Like it's weird, you know what I mean? I think that also describes how their play has been. It's been like a roller coaster, at least after their bye week. And so I think it's a good position to turn things around, like you said, the meat and potatoes of the season. It is a division game, though. You can't take that lightly as well. But I expect them to prevail.
Yes, you're 100% right. He turns the ball over, but yet they win. But I still stand firm on when you are the quarterback, especially because you touch the ball more than most, and you're turning the ball over. I believe ultimately that's a recipe for failure. So you may get away with it here or there. In fact, Jared Goff, just going back 2 weeks ago, he threw 5 interceptions, and the Detroit Lions won that game. You are not supposed to throw 5 interceptions and win a football game in the NFL. I mean, maybe in high school, but definitely not in the NFL. Too good. But
Yeah,
that just goes to
I,
show, yeah.
I agree.
We Dallas Cowboys, Washington Commanders. What else to say about Dallas? Cooper Rush. I've said it before, not last game, but the game before. He completed 13 of 23 passes for 45 yards. I don't think I've ever seen a stat line like that. You got him as your quarterback. Then you got Trey Lance. As soon as he comes in, of course, he has to do the, well, I guess I have to throw a pick too. So I don't know what you do in Dallas. You have no run game. It's just a mess.
Like you said, what's there to say? I think it's more so just sit back, grab your popcorn, and just watch the Jaden Daniels show. Dallas is cooked. So it is what it is.
Yeah, there definitely have to be some conversation going on in the front office of who's a keeper and who's not. I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We have Tampa Bay visiting the Giants. Here's another organization that has to do some soul searching. Your number one pick 6 years ago, Daniel Jones, is now on the waiver wire. You gave him an extension. Was it a year ago, 2 years ago? That's unheard of. I mean, these are things that you just don't see. Malik Neighbors is, I believe, he's not playing. At best, he's questionable, but I think he's out in that game.
Yeah, that them releasing Daniel Jones, what, like at the top of this week? It's
It was
like
yesterday.
it was yesterday. Okay, oh yeah. I don't know if it'd been a few days that it marinated, but yeah, I think the organization did not do that well. Did not handle that in a professional manner, but
He requested it, by the way.
yeah, it's just I don't know what's going on in New York, man. But Tommy DeVito is your starting quarterback now. I don't even know what direction you look at. It's like them in Dallas are just they're just playing the seesaw game as far as who's in the deeper pit.
Pretty much. Pretty much. We have the Patriots down in Miami against the Dolphins. Patriots, I do like what I see in Drake May. I have to say that. When I say I see what I like for a pick that I didn't think was that guy at all, he's showing me, yes, he deserves to be an NFL quarterback. Can improve for sure, but right now he's not playing bad for a rookie at all. Not to me, especially on that team. But I have to go with the Dolphins there. Tua Tagovailoa is back. They're in a different rhythm when he's in the game. Patriots are going to be without the Gonzalez, I believe. You take away your best pieces. You're on the road. Yes, it's a division game. Here we go again. It could happen, but I think the Dolphins will take care of business at home.
Yeah, I'm going to rock with the Dolphins because it's in Miami. Like you said, Tua's back. They're in a different rhythm, a different groove. You take away Gonzalez, now you got more to worry about with Cheetah. It's only a matter of time before he get back to that Cheetah form. Right now he's moving more like a lion. I'm gonna take Miami as well. Yeah.
Well, Tariq is dealing with a wrist injury that most people that looked at it, I'm referring to medical people, personnel, however you want to call it, have recommended he get surgery, but he chose not to get surgery during the season. So he's playing through a lot of pain. And this all stemmed from the arrest that happened to him in front of the stadium about a month or so ago.
Yeah, I heard about that injury. I feel like there has to be some underlining, I guess, things that came along that road to still piggy that back to the arrest. Because wasn't that in week one that the arrest happened?
No, no, I don't. But let's put it this way: I don't believe it was week one, but we can look into that. I think that was a couple of games in.
Because I'm only thinking like that was that was some time ago. So maybe just him playing the game there could just be little plays here and there that could have agitated it. But I mean, if it's declared that that is the reason, then I'm not gonna go against it. But
Right. I mean, he actually in that game he did play well. Actually, I think he had at least a touchdown because in one of the touchdown celebrations was him acting like he was being arrested. I remember
well,
that.
yeah, in the last one, he almost broke his neck messing with Odell. They did
Yeah.
some little wrestling celebration. I know that hurt, but you just had to play it off like it didn't.
Yeah. So then we have Tennessee Titans against the Houston Texans. That's a lot of T's going on. Tie up your tongue. But I'm going to go with Houston. Tennessee is, they don't have Snead. He's out. Audrey is out. Houston's at home. Think that they also have to be careful. 7-4. You can't lose these games.
Yeah, I think now is a good chance to put their foot they foot down, but they foot on their neck. The only T I need to be hearing is touchdown Nico Collins, because I need a big output for him, man, for
Yeah,
fantasy this week.
yeah,
I was hyped on the last game, but they brought it back, the 75 or whatever it was yard touchdown that he had. I mean,
yeah. I
first
saw that.
play, that's how you draw it up. Once again, man, just shout out to Joe Mixon. That
Oh,
that guy is just like, it's like every game it's a $150 and at least a tutty. Like, it's just ridiculous. His output right now, man, it's exciting to watch. He's your five tool type of running back. He could do it all. Um, so yeah, like I think Houston's, taking a deep breath in and getting some fresh air. Now that they got 12 back, people forgot he was the leading receiver in the NFL before he went down with that hammy. So now's just a good time to set the tone, man. Like you said, you can't play around at 7-4. So let it be known.
yeah. Now we have the Denver Broncos visiting Vegas at the Raiders. Yeah, I know.
You try to put some excitement on that, like like it's a game. Like, oh, Vegas, nah.
Well, here's the deal, right? And I'm going to say this, right? It's two things that we got going on this week. The first thing is, I mean, when I say the Raiders has been owning the Broncos, yes, the Broncos won the last meeting against them in Mile High this year, but I'm saying over a period of time that the Raiders have beat them. That's one. Number two, although they did lose last week in Miami, it's a cross country game. They played well. It took a late touchdown, really kind. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a blowout or just a typical. Oh my God. With that being said, I'm going to take the Raiders. I think they got to stop the losing streak at some point, and this is a good start. A division game. They have Kansas City next week, Thanksgiving. So I'm gonna be fair. If they lose this one, you might as well count that one as well as a loss. So I think, yeah, I look at the whole picture. I'm looking at it saying, well, if you're gonna get a win to break that losing streak, I think this would be the week. So yes, I'm gonna take the Raiders here.
So I agree in the sense of statistics. Denver's like, I don't think they haven't won a game in Vegas since they made that move.
Oh, right, right, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So, however, I think that trend stops.
Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry. I'm sorry, man. Like, Vegas just shows me no excitement, no hope. Um, they played well last week, okay, but consistency has been like an allergy for them this year. So I'm gonna go with Bo Nix. Somehow he's heating up. Somehow they're just they're starting to roll a little bit, and once again their defense is solid. You know, for the most part their defense is solid. Yeah, they've had their bumps on the road, but I'm gonna go with Denver on this one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks. Very, very important game for both teams. I'm going with Arizona. What I saw in them, especially last week, but over the last couple of weeks, is got me optimistic. Now I'm looking at the Cardinals way different than I looked at them in the beginning of the season. Arizona actually was playing some good football, both sides.
Why do you look at them differently?
The beginning of the season, it was kind of the uh, same old story. You know, Arizona. They're not.
Hmm.
They're a team that's gonna look decent this week, then fall back on a two-game losing streak, then win a game, and then another losing streak. Just what they've been doing pretty much in the last few years, since pretty much since Kyler Murray's been there.
Hmm.
All right. Now I'm looking at a different Kyler Murray. I'm looking at Marvin Harrison. Like, just to look at him is like he's no rookie. I mean, really. And I'm looking at, it seems not that he was not playing top football, but it seemed like Buda Baker is rejuvenated. Like, if he's feeling like, something, we got something here, and it gave him like that pep.
Yeah. Isn't he in contract discussion?
I'm not sure about his contract. Speak. Well, this has not got to do with contract, but when you said contract, it made me think of Connor. And even Connor's running harder. But yes, getting back to the contract, I'm not aware of if this is it for. It may be.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals as well. I just wanted to hear your reasoning, but I'm gonna go with them just because Kyler's lost, I believe, like with five in a row.
To
To
Seattle.
to Seattle. You know.
Okay, but
S-
they got to play each other like this week, skip a week, and then they're gonna play again the following week. So yeah, if that's the case, then you're talking about the Cardinals are gonna lose two out of the next three, which would pretty much seal their fate if they were to that were to happen, because that would then make them at best 7-6.
Yeah, but I'm only gonna speak about the now. 2 weeks, 3 weeks is far from here in football terms. Anything can happen.
True indeed.
I'm gonna take Arizona this week for that reason. For him to just be, enough is enough. Like you lost the last five to Seattle. You know what I mean? Like lock in. Like I'm gonna just leave it at that. Just lock in. Ain't not much more to say. Like I would know who I'm losing to more than others. Like I would know some of these streaks just as a player.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so you know what I mean? Like um Arizona has been playing great football lately. So let's do it. Let's run it. Go steal one.
Yeah. We have 49ers at Green Bay. That's a tough game, but you have no Bosa, no Purdy. Unfortunately, Ward, the sad news about his 1 year old passing away, so he's not playing for personal reasons over the last, I think it's 3 games now. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a tough game, period. But I think the Packers are in a I must win this game mode. I don't think they could afford to lose that game at home. Me, this will show Matt LaFleur's creativity. All the boxes and get to it at home.
I agree 100%. I don't really have much more to say. I'm taking Green Bay as well because it is that, like you said, they have to have it type of game. 49ers are banged up, both on and off the field. So it's gonna be a tough one.
Now we have Philadelphia in LA against the Rams. Rams are sneaky good at times, but I have to go with Philadelphia here. There's no Devontae Smith in that game, but I feel that they have to do what they got to do. The Rams, yes, they're going to be a tough out, especially at home. Stafford's playing very well this year. Not that he was playing bad throughout his career, but it seemed like he's locked in mentally. I watch him play, and it's to me, it's the way you play the quarterback position, and he's just on point. But I'm going to give the Eagles the edge.
Yeah, this is tough. Where Philly is right now, man, is they're getting a little scary. Saquon, it's like just the X's and O's of the game of football. Like you don't play man against AJ Brown. You just don't do that type of stuff.
Hmm.
Because he kills you countlessly. So he's always a threat. Like he has the body, he has the hands, he has the speed, and he has the footwork. He really has it all.
Hmm.
So to worry about him, then to follow up with Saquon, and now Jalen Hurts is starting to run a little bit more with his feet. It's tough. And their defense are playing very well as far as takeaways, and I think they make that cross country trip and they handle business. But I do think it'll be a good game though, for sure. Like it may even come down to like the last 5 minutes of the game.
Baltimore Ravens against the Chargers, the Harbaugh Bowl. Harbaugh brothers going up against each other once again. So it's going to be a tough game. I think the Ravens need it more than the Chargers. I think the Ravens cannot afford to go 7-5. That would put them in a tight situation playoff wise.
Yeah, I think because they waiting to talk about the Ravens in a negative light, so I think they will more so deem this season to be a bust because of the tools that they have acquired and how the record is reflecting that. So the Ravens do need it more. They absolutely do. The Chargers somehow like they are a good bunch. Like very, able to watch them on prime time the other day and like Herbert's he's heating up. You know what I mean? I think people easily forgot since he was battling that ankle injury, how he can get it done with his feet. But I do feel like the Ravens need it more. I think Lamar will just be in MVP mode and just do what he does with King Henry right there by his side, and that's just it has to happen that way. I feel like if it doesn't, then yeah, the season is gonna be considered a bust from the eyes of the media.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Baltimore, they're getting a lot of whispers right now for sure.
Hmm.
Games that things. At the same token, I think, and I'm not hating when I say this, I think the Chargers are also a product of the scheduling.
Hmm.
I felt that the Chargers really didn't have tough games in their season so far to say that all right, they're 7-3 and they're really like beating up on playoff teams. It seems like they're getting some wins on teams that really weren't a threat so much to make the playoffs. Now again, 7-3, like, I got to give it to you. You still won 7 games in the NFL, but
Hmm.
I'm not going to necessarily look at them the same.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair enough.
So we have the Falcons, Bills, Bengals, Jaguars, Saints, and Jets on a bye this week. Some of those teams really need a bye. Now, speaking of playoffs, we got seven in the AFC, 7 in the NFC that make the playoffs. As of right now in the AFC, we have the Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Texans, Chargers, Ravens, and Broncos. On the outside, we have the Colts, the Dolphins, Bengals. For the sake of mathematical purposes, the Jets and the Patriots. The NFC, we have the Lions, Eagles, Cards, Falcons, Vikings, Packers, Commanders. On the outside, we have the Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, Bucks, Bears, Saints. Again, mathematical purposes, Cowboys and the Panthers. Are there any teams that you feel that are in now you're going to take out, or any teams that you believe are going to make that push out of the bubble?
Um, Not on the NFC. Can you say the AFC one more time, just so I'm making sure?
The
The
complete
NFC, no,
the complete list?
no, just the AFC.
Yeah, of the teams on the bubble as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Hmm.
Chiefs, Bills, Steelers, Texans, Chargers, Ravens, Broncos are in as we speak. We
Hmm.
know we have 7 games left. I'm speaking solely on right now.
Hmm.
We have the Colts, Dolphins, Bengals, Jets, and Patriots.
Yeah, no, I think it stays both ways.
Okay, so now that's where we differ. I think there's a strong possibility that the Dolphins can replace the Broncos.
The only way I would agree with that is strength of schedule.
Well, that's my point. I think the Dolphins would have the advantage of playing the Jets again,
Mm.
playing the Patriots like they're doing this week,
Mm.
where the Broncos are going to have to play Kansas City again. They could lose to the Raiders this week. I mean, I'm just looking at the reality of it. So now you're talking basically they got the same record.
Yeah, me personally, I'm still gonna favor Denver though
Okay.
over Miami. Yeah, because yeah, I'm still gonna favor Miami. Although Miami is on the uphill, they still have to show me some more things. I think they still have to get it right in some areas before I can just deem them to replace Denver.
Well, I have to say there's 2 things that I look at. One, the fact that the Dolphins did make the playoffs last year, right?
Hmm.
Number 2 is I had them winning their division going into the season. Now, this is prior to injuries, obviously. So for them to go through what they've gone through and still have a shot, I think they could string together some wins. And I don't see, to me, I don't see 10-7 as not obtainable. And 10-7, I believe, could probably get you the last spot.
Okay, that's fair. That's a good point. We'll just have to sit back and see.
Now, you said you wouldn't replace anything in the NFC. The only thing that I see, well, it's two things I see can happen. I can see the Falcons messing up because they had a golden opportunity to lock that division up pretty much if they won last week, but they didn't. So if you take the Falcons in the same division with Tampa Bay wins a game or two here, they lose. Next thing you know, they're running neck and neck. So that could possibly come back to bite them. I also look at the Cardinals, who, if they do lose to Seattle, two of the next three games, and the 49ers then pull out three, win their next three games, they're now in front in the West. So those are the two teams that I got my eye out on.
So are you saying it more so like that's what you believe, or you won't be surprised if it happens?
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens
If it happens, okay. Yeah.
because what I'm looking at is, and it's sad, but it's just a fact. It seems like teams that like don't win a lot tend to find ways to lose the games they need to win, versus teams that win a lot or teams that are in the playoffs. They find ways to win when they have to, and that's where I see the Cardinals are not used to winning divisions, being in the playoffs consistently, whereas to the 49ers are. And I
And
look at
some,
those things. Mm.
yeah, sometimes it could be the other way around. Because you haven't been in the playoffs, you're hungry for it. You know what I mean? You want it. You want to go get that. Experience matters, but also acknowledging like that hunger and thirst as well. So,
I agree with you 1,000% because that's how I look at the Commanders. I look like they're hungry and they want it. I look at Robinson when he's running the ball, he's running violent. Like he's running like, yeah, I want this, and which is what you want to
yeah,
see,
he's a solid dude too.
right?
Two
So
15.
I can see that with the Commanders. I can't say I see that with the Falcons. It's like the Falcons have had two glorious years. They took L's in both of those Super Bowls, but they had two glorious years. I recall in their franchise. The latest one obviously was the loss, 28-3 lead they lost. Then prior to that, the Dirty Birds played Denver and they lost. So yeah, I could just see that, and no knock again to nobody personally, but Kirk Cousins have had teams for years that they felt were ready and prime with the Vikings,
That's
and
true too.
he has not come up and took it like you would expect, and he had teams. So
Hmm.
can I see games that I can't believe they lost? Yeah, but I picked them to win their division. I'm just looking at how did you lose that last game to New Orleans? It's a
Yeah.
division game, I get it, but that to me was a game where this is almost like our playoff game right here. If they win that game, they would have been 7-4, and obviously pretty much in the driver's seat. You're talking like a 3 game lead on the whole division with 7 to go. But you now lost that game, and who knows?
Yeah, I think, but for me, Tampa Bay would need Mike Evans.
He's not playing this week. He's questionable, I believe, but he's he's going to be back the following week. Again, Tampa Bay this week is against the Giants. Without him, I think they're good. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying that the Tampa, but it's just a strong possibility they can steal the division. Now, the only advantage that the Falcons do have is they have the tiebreaker. against Tampa. So the Bucks would have to actually have a better record. They can't just have the same record.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, they're scheduled too.
Right.
It can happen. It definitely can happen.
Rashad, remember, this week, I'm talking about this is all ifs because the games have not been played.
Hmm.
Bucks win, they're 5-6. Falcons are 6-5. Now we going in. It'll be then start next week, the week 13. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's yeah. Now that I think about it, because Atlanta, I don't think Atlanta's gonna win this week.
No, Atlanta's on the bye.
I'm sorry. Next week when they play the Chargers. So that to me is already a L.
Wow.
Uh,
Well, coming off a bye, sometimes teams, they have longer period to prepare, coach wise.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I don't know. I just don't. The only thing that supports them is that it's at home. But yeah, like Tampa has a very light schedule moving forward.
Hmm.
Um, they play a playoff team though, and I chalk that up as a L. Um, if I can grab it.
Okay, so Ta- Tampa is playing the Giants, then they play Carolina, then they play Vegas, then they play the Chargers, Dallas, Carolina, New Orleans. You you can possibly make an argument that they'll only lose one more game.
Yeah. I got yeah, that's what it was. I got them both losing to LA.
Okay,
Um,
now we got the Falcons. This is they're on a bye, so then they come back and play the Chargers, Minnesota, the Raiders, the Giants, Commanders in Carolina. I could see them losing possibly two, or if not three of those games.
yeah.
That that's all I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
but had they had won last week, see how different that changes everything.
It does. I'm gonna take Atlanta.
To win a division.
Um, yeah, because in retrospect, considering Evans's age, the injury, the hammy, because he it's not even as if he was balling. You know what I mean? Throughout this season, he's been Mike Evans in the sense of you have to respect his game and his craft. You
Hmm.
can't just like throw a bum on him and think it's gonna be cool.
Right.
But it was Godwin, that really opened up that offense, in my opinion, and led that offense. So I even think with Mike, like things can get a little murky in the water, you know. I think Atlanta has to do a lot more wrong, you know what I mean, to fold this playoff position.
Well, well, let's keep in mind this as well. They should have at least. Well, I ain't gonna say should have. They had a strong possibility to beat the 49ers a couple of weeks ago. That's without Mike Evans. So they didn't get it done, but it was a close game, and it came down to basically a play. So those things make me say that yeah, even without Mike, they have a chance to beat those teams at least.
I mean, the 49ers was banged up at that time, for sure. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I'm going to stick with Atlanta, though. I'm going to stick with Atlanta.
Well, pick them to win their division in the beginning. We went over it together actually.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to bail on them. I'm just saying what they last week to me was a game that was very important, and they allowed it to slip away.
Hmm.
Just like to me, the Cardinals are playing Seattle. That's a game they have to have because you cannot lose, then possibly lose again to them. Division is too tight. You're gonna have to start winning these games. All I'm saying is this is what separates playoffs teams. Must win, got to get it done. Don't get it done, pretty much you don't go to playoffs. what it come down to.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing to say to that.
Mr. Baker, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining the show. I'm going to get you back on here again in at least a couple of weeks because we'll really be close to the playoffs and we can then decide if not. Hmm?
Before we close, man, any of the Mets organization, big ups, the hi hat guys, can we get Juan Soto, please? Can we get Juan Soto, please? That's all I asked for, man. Shout out to my New Yorkers.
Yeah, well, so a lot of people want Soto. Um,
That oof,
I'll say this.
needed.
I'll just say this. If the Mets are going to get him, it'll be a Merry Christmas because it'll be by Christmas. And when I say that is the winter meetings start, I believe, the first week in December. So
Yeah,
if they're going to get him, they'll have him by Christmas.
I will get a jersey.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But thank you for having me once again.
Always a pleasure.
I look forward to hopping back on soon.
Sounds good to me. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. And hopefully you'll continue to tune in to us, with us. Your host, Kenny Baker, Sports Sipping Sports. As always, to the next time, one love.